It's green for go. They're racing.
He says go.
He says ta-da.
And Tiger Tara roars away from them on the home turn.
Here comes another big boil over.
Equine athleticism at its best. The king is in the castle once more.
This is in one race. The rest are almost in another postcode.
She is a star with a capital S.
It's going to be a triple treat, a miracle three-peat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed history here at Menangle. What about that?
It's getting right up on the sprint lane and it's going to bolt in.
Hello and welcome to the Sunday session. This is episode 116 of the Sprint Lane podcast for Harness Racing New South Wales. My name is Greg Hayes and we have got a bit to get through this week. Swayzee, the defending New Zealand Cup champion, is in transit as I record this podcast on Sunday morning, heading back to defend his title that he won 12 months ago after winning at Young at the Carnival of Cups meeting on Friday night. If you missed the race, here are the concluding stages.
29.1. It's Swayzee who led. The runner who's moved into second there is Serge Blanco, followed by Geordie, and then came Arden's Ace, and they've gapped the others towards home. Cam Hart sitting quietly here on Swayzee, and the favourite runs the third quarter, 29.1. Running a very strong race. The outside is Serge Blanco, and Geordie cuts back to the inside. It's Swayzee in front. Cam Hart sitting quietly. Geordie getting up on the inside, but it's Swayzee in front, and Swayzee simply too strong, and the $1 million dream's alive.
As Matt Jones said, the $1 million dream is alive after 2 of the 5 races in the Carnival of Cup circuit have been run and won. A win now at any of the 3 remaining venues, Tamworth, Albury or Penrith, will see Connections net themselves $250,000. Win 2 of the remaining 3, they win $500,000. Win all 3, they pocket a cool $1 million. However, Jason Grimson, Cam Hart, Mick Boots, they're living by the slogan, have horse will travel, as they added the New Zealand Cup onto his program. He's also the $2.50 fave for the Inter-Dominion Series with the Tab, with that series set to begin in Newcastle on November 29. The beauty of the standard bred on display right here. If he is successful in all of these races, he's going to have some sort of bankroll at the end of the Carnival of Cups. Great incentive, the $1 million bonus put up by Harness Racing New South Wales creates plenty of talk and promotion now, because every time he turns up at these Carnival of Cups meetings, he's racing for a bonus. It's outstanding theatre. It's going to all unfold in front of us over the next couple of months. Just back to the Friday night meeting at Young. Crowd huge as expected. A lot more people seem to sit up in front of the stage for the music, and understandably so. Shepherd, Baby Animals, Chocolate Starfish. They were the 3 main acts, and wow. I'm a fan of live music, and this promotion really draws me in, but the Chocolate Starfish on Friday night, they were off the charts. Best known, I guess, in Australia for the cover, You're So Vain, all those years ago, but they smashed it out of the park. They sung Bat Out of Hell, which was one of Meat Loaf's big hits. They were the act that sang All Fired Up, which is the theme for the Carnival of Cups this year. Their act was so good, and it was interesting chatting to a few well-placed people within the industry, saying they hope Harness Racing New South Wales goes with the Chocky Starfish as an act at the Penrith meeting, because they haven't announced the Penrith performers yet. Only time will tell, but great performers, that is no doubt. Turning our attention closer to home at Menangle on Saturday night. They had the running of the Italian Cup, which was taken out by Max Delight in 1:49.6, trained for all but a handful of starts by David Aiken. Started his career with Darren Hancock and then went to Tassie, and then he ended up at Akey's. But this horse is another great advertisement for the toughness of the standard bred. Has competed in feature race after feature race in his career and looks destined to compete in another Inter-Dominion Series in just a few weeks' time. Seaton Grimer picked up a training double. Joe Connolly also trained a winner on the Menangle program, and I'll go through all of those races in the Menangle Express later on in the podcast. Must make mention of Jack Callaghan, who picked up plenty of frequent flyer points over the weekend. Trip across to WA to drive in the WA Pacing Cup before returning to drive in the Queensland Cup at Albion Park on Saturday night for Jason Grimson. Wasn't the result Jack was hoping for, but you can't knock the work ethic, that's for sure. Speaking of young drivers, I got to interview Will Rickson on Friday night. It was announced that he would be the New South Wales representative in the Australasian Young Drivers Championship during the Inter-Dominion Carnival. Great chance for Will to compete against the best young drivers in Australia and New Zealand. we will actually have a couple of representatives this year with Josh Gallagher defending his title. So good luck to both of the boys. Speaking of Josh Gallagher, congratulations to him and his wife Alicia, who tied the knot last Sunday. Another one of these good young drivers we have in New South Wales at the moment. So congratulations to Josh. So who's on the podcast this week? Well, being New Zealand Cup week, it would be remiss of me not to talk to the bloke who is recognised as the mouthpiece for harness racing in New Zealand. Mick Guerin will join me to discuss the big races on Tuesday. We might even see if Mick can find us a good thing early on in the meeting on Tuesday. Also going to catch up with David Aiken, the trainer of Max Delight. He has had some great success with horses like Lenny the Shark and Hector JJ, and Max Delight would have to be starting to enter the conversation as one of the best horses he's trained. I might actually ask him that when I get him on in a couple of minutes' time. Mr. T, he's back with another couple of tips. I got 2 winners last week, and he got 1, so I might have closed the margin down a little bit, but he still has a handy lead as we head towards the end of spring. As I mentioned earlier, I'll run through the Menangle Express, where I go through each race at Menangle with a fine-tooth comb and tell you what I saw. So, a lot to get through, but first up, let's hear from David Aiken and talk about his old warrior, Max Delight.
They come to the corner. Don Lu still the leader. Under pressure is Max Delight to get out after it. Nyax on the inside, and then came I Break the Line around the outside. District Attorney and held up for a run to come to the outside. Now is Captain's Knock, but Max Delight, the evergreen, goes up to go to the lead now. Nyax out and running. Don Lu still there. Captain's Knock's trying to get into the fight, but can't for the moment. The leader narrowly is Max Delight. Nyax coming at it inch by inch, but the leader Max Delight being driven for dear life, and it's home. Wins the Italian Cup, Max Delight.
Well, he's an old marvel, Max Delight. He just keeps on performing at the top level, and he did it again last night. And David Aiken, his trainer's joining me. Hey, Dave, how are you?
Good morning, Greg. No, I'm very good.
Mate, that old horse, he just keeps on keeping on.
Yeah, he's an old marvel. He fronts up every week. He rarely runs a bad race, and I'm glad I got him in the stable.
He's an 8-year-old, and he's competed at the top level since he was a baby. So, he must look after himself between races, does he?
Yeah. He actually, he's one of those horses just loves being in work. He's very athletic. He's got to manage. He had after the Chariots, the 4-year-old, he had a tendon, and we've started to manage that all the way through. But apart from that, he's really good to train. And he's a good horse to drive. The drivers like driving him. And Josh had a great job last night. Summed the race up pretty good. It was a good result. But, he's, just got to keep him healthy, soundness-wise, and he does the rest.
So, going into last night, were you pretty confident that he'd run a good race?
Yeah, I was, because his form, I thought the big cup where he ran fourth, a few of he's following some good horses, District Attorney and Catch a Wave, and they actually stalled down the back on him, and he had to go really wide on the turn. If they would have run him the race, I'm sure he would have run second to Swayzee. And that allowed a lot of those horses to get off the inside, and so his run was very good. His run against Sleep the Fame, his second was really good. But then you got to respect Don Lu, Captain's Knock, and those other horses in the race. But I knew if he was sort of handy enough. I thought Captain's Knock may have pressed forward and gone to the breeze. I saw him like before the race being in the 1-1. But it worked out. It worked out good because he wasn't in the early burn, and Josh was able to get him close to the action when he needed to.
So, having a look at his last few starts, you've spaced him sort of every fortnight, but you're not afraid to go every week. How will he cope with the 3 runs in a week in an Inner Dominion series?
Oh no, he'll love it. Yeah, his recovery is really good. He's done it before. As I said, like our biggest concentration of that horse is, he's been sound for a long, long time now, but that's all our focus. He just eats good. He gets through the run. He won't worry. That won't worry him at all. But I won't start him now till the heats for 3 weeks. but may have a little quiet trial in between, just to sort of keep him tight, but not overly just sort of like a ticking over type trial. But I'm really happy. I really do think. I know he's 8. I don't think I've had him any better. I think he's really this year, even maybe coming to Menangle, just had harder, tougher racing. He's really come to the fore.
And I just noticed that run last night, that was a career best, 149.6 in terms of winning time.
Yeah, for sure. He's gone around the 150 flat a couple of times. He's been placed in a fast mile, but that's his personal best. So, you see it a few times at Menangle now, but it's always good when you sort of tick over that 150.
Where does he sit in terms of horses that you've trained?
He's up there. Lenny was very special. Hector JJ was brilliant, but this horse is just a tradesman, So Lenny had a lot of strings to his bow where this horse probably doesn't. But as far as just sort of being there for a long time against good horses, you just got to, he just does the job, and he's had different drivers. He went through, there's a little bit there where they said he was in a form slump, but that Melton form's hard to line up because you're drawing at the back all the time, and he's one of those horses that couldn't make his own luck a lot of the times. Running good halves back in the third, and I didn't think he was ever going bad, but a few people wrote him off, and we spoke about it young last year. We took him up to Wagga for just an ordinary race, and he won and sort of got that winning feeling back, and from then on he's just never looked back.
You have the occasional drive still, but we don't see you drive Max Delight. What's the reasoning there?
Oh, Greg, it's these guys, these young drivers are so good. I've always classed myself as a trainer, not so much as a driver. They're just so talented. They go around all the time. If you ever see me one on, it's usually a bad one. I usually one that's pretty tough to drive, or I'm trying to work something out. But I still enjoy driving, but it's a young person's game. These young, and they're light, and they're and they do their form good, present themselves good, and it's just I just rather do my work during the week and let them do the rest on a Saturday night.
What about your trotters? Sleepy and Speedy Lover, they ran 3rd and 4th respectively last night. Were you happy with them?
Yeah, Speedy had a sort of up and down week, and it probably showed. I thought she was probably the class horse of the race. Wasn't disappointed in her. She had a little hiccup during the week, but she was still good. She did a bit of work, and Speedy Lover, he's out the draw all the time, so it's tough for him every week. But he's very consistent. He'll back up very. I think they'll go through the series pretty good. Chris Alford and Alford own Sleepy, and they're keen for her to run. So hopefully we can sort of get down a little bit if there's a few scratchings. But we're pretty keen to run them.
So will we see them? Will we see them race before the end of Dominion now?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I'll race before. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's trying to they got to be out and about to sort of get down in the rankings.
Yep.
Where Max is sort of he's there sort of thing. So just got to just work out a program with him so we get him. Just got to keep him good for another month.
How's the health?
Good. Yeah, I just finished a 7-week course of radiation a couple of weeks ago, so that was sort of a little bit tough, but hopefully I'll get a good report in January. But I feel good of myself, so so I think everything should be okay. So.
Well, mate, That's good to hear. Fingers crossed for you. Thank you very much for joining me today, and all the best of luck with the Inter-Dominion just around the corner.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, Greg.
It is the second Tuesday in November, and Australia has very good representation. Would have been bigger if Leap to Fame had been there, but we still have Swayzee, we still have Better Eclipse, and we still have Aroda in the New Zealand Cup. And Mick Guerin from New Zealand is joining me to have a chat. Hey, Mick, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, Hazy, and hi to your listeners. Really looking forward to getting down to Christchurch. I live in Auckland, which is in the north of New Zealand, but Cup Week in Christchurch is a mammoth week. It really is economically a huge week. The Cup this year is up to $1 million, which is sort of where these good races need to be. And I'm looking forward to getting down there and seeing what's the exclamation mark on a very unusual build-up in a whole bunch of ways, including, of course, the disappointment of losing Leap to Fame. But the New Zealand Cup for harness racing is a little bit like the Melbourne Cup. You could pull almost any horse out of it, like Via Sistina coming out of the Melbourne Cup, and it's still a massive occasion, more so than the actual dynamics of the race itself. So it won't affect the crowd, it won't affect the turnover. It probably just means, Hazy, that when a horse wins, in your mind, if you're that sort of person, which I am, you maybe are too, you'll go, well, would that have been Leap to Fame? And I suppose we'll never know.
I was reading one of the articles that you've written, and you're talking about ifs, and massive if was Swayzee, would he ever defend his title? And up until recently, it was no. Did it come as a bit of a shock that the late entry was paid by Connections to get Swayzee across?
Look, I think it was a huge shock for everybody in harness racing, apart from Jason, who obviously paid the fee. But the one issue I've got with it is it's really brutal for futures punters. I'm not saying this has got anything to do with anybody's TABs or any bookmaker. It's got nothing to do with them. It's not their fault. But if you were betting into this race over the last 6 months and then the defending champion turns up and it's not in the market and then it turns up at 2.7, bloody hard on those who have taken, I don't know, $4 about Merlin and all of a sudden he's out to sixes or whatever. So it is a slightly tricky one, but I don't really see how you get around it. Back in the old days, there used to be any other runner type thing, but they're very easy to manipulate. So, yeah, look, it's a side issue, and it's maybe something adding to interest and say, hey, look, in the future there'll be no late entries. Either you pay up at NOMS time or you don't. And if you choose not to, we don't give you the option to get back into the race. So I'm not saying it should be that, but I think it's something we're probably going to consider.
Can he win it? He was tradesman-like at Young. He wasn't asked to do a lot. He sprinted a quarter, but gee, the horses that he beat a horse called Geordie, who's just come out of New Zealand, that's now with Kevin Pizzuto, and Serge Blanco, who wouldn't be featuring in a New Zealand Cup. Can he win it?
Oh, absolutely. Look, he is favourite, and I think a lot comes down. A lot of harness races come down to one moment, and the moment last year was, could he get in front of a Cooter? Because once he got in front of a Cooter, then he was going to roll to the lead because the rest of them weren't going to get in his way. I think this year's New Zealand Cup is a similar equation with different parts, and that is, will he be able to run to the lead? So say everybody settles midfield neutral. Just say everybody who matters. Because I think there's only 3 or 4 million chances. Merlin, Don't Stop Dreaming, and maybe Better Eclipse, maybe. But once they settle neutral to each other and somebody ends up in front, if Swayzee goes looking for the lead and it's Better Eclipse or anybody else in the race, apart from Merlin or Don't Stop Dreaming, then I think he gets the lead. So if he gets the lead, he probably wins because he tends to win every race he leads in. If Merlin or Don't Stop Dreaming get their first Hazy, then the question comes, a little bit like Pride of Jenny. Do their drivers think, I'm sick of this? I'm sick of everybody handing up to Swayzee, like Pride of Jenny rolling to the front, unencumbered. I'm sick of it. I'm going to park him. Now, he can still win park, but it becomes a lot harder. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible to come off his back and beat him, but not many horses have done. So I think there'll be a moment between the 2,000 and the 1,200 where Cam Hart will come looking for the lead. And then I think there's only one or two drivers in the race who would say no to him, and that could be the winning of the New Zealand Cup. I'm not saying the horse who would, and I'm not saying it will happen, but if someone says no to him, Swayzee might break that horse, but he might leave himself vulnerable to a swooper like a Merlin or a Better Eclipse. So I think that's the Cup as best we can spell it out for those people who are looking at the tactics of the race.
What about Merlin? How good is he? We have seen him here in Australia, but he seems to have gone to another level.
Look, I don't think the local horses are that good, apart from him and Don't Stop Dreaming. They're good. I think it's a case right around Australasia. Leap to Fame's better than everybody, then Swayzee's better than the rest, and then there's just a clump of other horses, and that's how New Zealand is. But our two aren't as good as your best two. But Swayzee's drawn the second line, so they may not need to be as good as him. The thing with Merlin is I don't think we've found his ceiling. I think he's still improving, as you mentioned, and I think he could end up being 2 lengths better than he is now. So he could peak for Tuesday. It could be his best performance. And he has won races like the Derby leading. So if he leads, they may say, he's a colt by Art Major. Let's just let him roll. Let's let him go be a good horse. And they might park out Swayzee. But he also has that little weapon that he could sit on Swayzee's back. And there's no better driver, I believe, in New Zealand, or maybe even Australasia, at the 100-metre sniper than Zachary Butcher, who drives Merlin. He's very, very good at holding, dashing, getting them. I don't think I've ever seen a driver do it better, ironically, than his own father, David Butcher. It's what they're specialists at. So he can win the Cup. He's probably not an entirely natural 2-mile horse, but he's a better horse than everything else in the race, apart from maybe Don't Stop Dreaming, who hasn't won many races this year. He's had a really strong year without being good enough to win many races. He did run at Lowry, Leap to Fame, really hard on Hunter Cup, and almost beat him there. So you say to yourself, would that be good enough to win this? If he peaks again and we see the best ever Don't Stop Dreaming, then maybe he can win the Cup too. But I think Hazy, by the time you go through Swayzee, who we know can win a Cup, Merlin and Don't Stop Dreaming, who we think can win a Cup, and Better Eclipse, who we know can win a Cup because he won, admittedly, a very weak Auckland Cup. Outside of those four, I don't think anything else in the race can win. So I think punters can, if not make themselves a book, they can at least reduce the percentages of the horses and the rest of the field, because I would be stunned if anything outside that top four.
Speaking of Better Eclipse, good segue for Greg Sugars with Just Believe over there in New Zealand. Is Father Time starting to catch up with Just Believe? Are they starting to get closer to him? Is there a couple of Kiwis that can beat him in the Dominion?
No.
He's just too good?
He's a champion and they're not. There's actually a horse in the race who could be a really, really good horse called Better Than Win. Geez, a lovely horse. And if you put him on the front end and Just Believe had to sit parked outside him, maybe it's 65-35 percentage points. Maybe it's $1.30 versus $3. But that's not going to happen. Just Believe, unless something goes wrong. There's always a 10% window for a horse can gallop or get knocked over or get sick. But he's been here for a week, so he's already settled into New Zealand, and he trotted well at the trials last Wednesday. More than likely, he'll just roll to the front. And if he rolls to the front, the others will move, because Oscar Bonavina and Bet and Win are the only other top-class horses in the race. And they'll have to move, because a lot of these Hazy will be gone at the 600. They'll be off their skulls. They're not in this class. So they'll need to move. Now, that doesn't ideally suit Oscar Bonavina, and Bet and Win's never tried it. But what you've got is Just Believe up against the marker pegs and these horses who have moved to get up outside him. So they're going to need to be better than Just Believe to beat him. More than not. So if all things happen the way they should, Manners not getting knocked over, he races up to his best, and he's done far more travelling than any of these horses, and it's never bothered him. He's not going to be upset by the crowd because he's been to an elite lot. There's just no logical argument to make against Just Believe on any level.
We'll hear you on Tuesday on Sky?
Yep, I'm here working for Sky because they they probably are going to have a little bit. At 10 o'clock in the morning, we have a little bit of our preview show, which will be Lewis Willoughby and I. And we'll try and give people some context around things. And then we'll have a hot horse, for 30 seconds for each race, because it's a really big deal. So we're going to try and drive turnover with people they know. I love the fact we are able to work on the radio over there, on TV over there, to still push the barrow. So I appreciate the opportunity. We'll try and find people some winners. If you're looking for a sneaky early, since you listen to the Sunday session, there's a horse on the first. Well, it's not even a horse. There's a trainer in the first called Paul Neal. He trains a horse called Tutangata and a horse called Forgiveness. I reckon you can split bet them early at $4.50 and $8. If you get on to Sunday now at TAB, the markets are all open. And you might give yourself a chance at around an average price of $6 to kick your day off. And then there's some really cool racing through the day. Horses like Duchess Megxit is a very, very good filly. There's a 2-year-old race where Marketplace versus Captain Samson. They're really good 2-year-old boys. It's going to be a fun day, Hazy. So I wish you were here, mate. I know you've been to them before. It's bloody good humour. We're looking forward to crowning at least one champion and Just Believe at his first Addington start. Maybe after this Cup, we'll be talking about Swayzee as edging towards a champion, or maybe Merlin can defend the honour of New Zealand harness racing. And unbelievably, if he does, it would give Barry Purdon, his Hall of Fame trainer, his first New Zealand Cup winner in 31 years.
Wow.
Can you believe how hard it is to win a New Zealand Cup? Barry Purdon, who has the best stable in New Zealand at the moment, bar none, hasn't won a New Zealand Cup for 31 years. I think a lot of people would like to see him, with training partner Scott Phelan, change that around about 3:45 Sydney time on Tuesday.
Mick, thanks very much for your time. Enjoy Tuesday.
Well, thank you, Haiti, for the opportunity, mate.
It is time for the Menangle Express, where I go back and have a look at all of the races from Menangle on a Saturday night and tell you what I saw. Race 1 was over the 2,300 metres. The fave was Whiskey Cavalier at $2.25. Speed early from outside fighter Colonia Courage and Whiskey Cavalier, with Whiskey Cavalier finding the front from wide on the track. They went into single file. Whiskey Cavalier, Colonia Courage, outside fighter Joe Nien, Foxy Dada. Mick Danger, Double Act, Romney, Craftsman's Charlie and I Am the Captain. As they swung into the straight the first time, Foxy Data pulled out and was driven aggressively and got the lead. Lead time 49.4. As they got to the judge, Whiskey Cavalier came back around Foxy Data and retook the lead. First quarter faster than normal, 28.8. As they moved into the back straight, Craftsman's Charlie was off the inside. That flushed a few out in front of it. Joe Nien, Mick Danger, Double Act, 29.9 second quarter. Whiskey Cavalier took off at the cages, which forced Mick Danger out before the turn. 28 around the side. Whiskey Cavalier set up a big lead, but Mick Danger got out, started to chase, as did Colonia Courage, while Double Act and I'm the Captain started to make ground down the outside. Mick Danger just got to Whiskey Cavalier in the last two strides. 28.5 final quarter, mile rate 155.1. Winner, super consistent. Whiskey Cavalier got tired late, maybe needed to sit at the cages for another second or so rather than take off. Double Act and I'm the Captain were both good down the outside. Craftsman's Charlie needs to be driven towards the front end. He could only manage 7th. Race 2 over the longer trip, and the fave was Where You Been Boppin' at $3.70. Speed early from Gordon's Bay, Arden's Ace and Pete Said So, with line up then working across to the lead by the time they got to the top corner the first time. So on the pegs, line up, Pete Said So, Arden's Ace, Gordon's Bay, High Voltage. Off the pegs, Kanina Problema, Where You Been Boppin', Jillaby Nitro, Zeus Bromac and Major Jealous. Now, Kanina Problema was driven aggressively and got to the front at the judge with a lap to go. Now, that's exposed Where You Been Boppin', not its go. Lead time fast, 48.4. No real let-off. First quarter, 28.8. Not many moves until the home turn. So, middle quarters, 29.6, 28.1. They fanned on the turn. Jillaby Nitro produced at the right time. Arden's Ace stuck to the inside to save ground. Pete Said So worked off the pegs and got into the clear under a heavy drive. But Jillaby Nitro just had too soft a run and won as it liked. 27.8 home, 153.9 the mile. Good run, well driven. Pete said so, really good. In fact, a lot better than he's been when beaten in weaker races recently. Zeus Bromac got home late. It was good. Arden's Ace backed up from Friday and did his thing. Where you been bopping? Doesn't want to be exposed that far from home. Race number 3, back to the mile. Captain's Knock, your favourite at $2.90. This was the Italian Cup. Speed early from Nyack, and I break the line with Nyack holding early. Don Lu then kept progressing forward and ended up rolling to the front. 26.9 first quarter. Pegs. Don Lu, Nyack. I break the line. Surfer's Delight, Terry. Running line, Max Delight. District Attorney, Captain's Knock, My Moonlight Dream and Armour X Factor. 28.7 through the second quarter. Don Lu kept rolling and Max Delight was under pressure on the turn to go out after Don Lu. 27.4 around the side. They fanned in the straight. District Attorney looked to be struggling a fraction. Captain's Knock got to the outside and started to wind up. Nyack came around the wheels of Max Delight and I break the line. Angled into the clear, but it was the old boy, Max Delight, holding them all off late. 26.6 final quarter, mile rate 149.6, and he heads now towards the Inter-Dominion, as you heard from David Aiken. Nyack, really good. He's going to win one soon. He's got that early speed to help him. Don Lu tried hard in front, set up the time. Captain's Knock worked home nicely, but he needs to be on the front end of the field when they're running these sub-150s. He's not going to come from the tail of the field. And I break the line. Took Captain's Knock the whole straight to run past him. Watch for him if he gets a drop back in grade soon. District Attorney had every chance. Race number 4, the fave was Mickey Pins at $2.80 in the Waratah final. A lot of speed early here with the Creek. Far Out Ringo, Takeout and Scared Stiff all showing speed, but it was the Creek who dashed across to the front before letting Far Out Ringo take the lead. On the pegs, Far Out Ringo, the Creek, Scared Stiff, Comanche Warrior, Here Comes Bobby. Running line, Takeout, Mickey Pins, Our Princess Kennedy, Rouge Bling, Mammals Alibi. 26.8 first quarter, pretty slick. They backed it off to 29.5 through the second. The Creek looked to be in a bit of trouble just after the cages, so Scared Stiff was looking to get away from the inside before the turn. 28.6 around the side, they fanned. Mickey Pins popped out of the 1-1 on the turn, looked to be the one to beat. Scared Stiff had run into a pocket and then looked to go back inside to try and find a run. Our Princess Kennedy tracked Mickey Pins everywhere it went, and then when produced for its last dash, Chris Geary produced it at the right time. It ran away to score. Final quarter 27.7. Mile rate 152.6. Scared Stiff unlucky. Looks ready to win. Rouge Bling was good. Not beaten far. Mickey Pins looked to have its chance, and Here Comes Bobby got into 5th. Race 5, fave was El Camino at $3. There was speed here from Cool Night, Maybe, Lochinvar Jag and Sweet Lovin' not too far away. Lochinvar Jag stayed 2 wide on the first corner to keep Sweet Lovin' 3 wide and working. 26.2 first quarter. It was Cool Night on the pegs, followed by Lochinvar Jag, Denny Rocks Halloween. Running line, Sweet Lovin', who kept on going forward. Maybe, Captain Richie, Eagle Watch, El Camino, We Own a Survivor. By the time they got to the 900, Sweet Lovin' had rolled to the top. 28.1 second quarter. They'd gone too fast. Maybe slid up at the cages to level up with the leader. Cool Night, don't know how this happened. Got away from the inside and all of a sudden Maybe was out 3 wide. Sweet Lovin' put in a real rough one as Maybe slid by it. Cool Night, Sweet Lovin', they were gone, which meant Captain Richie was out wide and exposed. It was followed by Eagle Watch and El Camino. 29.2 around the side. Maybe had tried to pinch it, but Eagle Watch and Captain Richie kept coming, and it was Eagle Watch who hit the lead and held on. 28.2 for a 151.6 mile. Thought El Camino had its chance. Was on the back of Eagle Watch on the turn and just couldn't get there. Captain Richie good. El Camino will win one, but its racing pattern might make it a bit hard to follow with confidence, maybe ready to win, and I thought Lochinvar Jag was good doing all the work early. Race 6, we're back to the 2300 here. The fave was Obadiah Dragon at $1.75. Speed early from Don't Let Fear Stop Ya, and Obadiah Dragon with Don't Let Fear Stop Ya crossing the stablemate, and they went into single file, so it was Don't Let Fear Stop Ya, Obadiah Dragon, Dom Toretto, Ideal Marquez, Red Reactor, Lockeel, Tishan Raider, Captain Tom, Our Uncle Jim, Ryan's Gangster. 52.9 for the lead time, slow. And then they walked the first quarter, 31. They swung into the back. Tishan Raider came off the peg, so did Ryan's Gangster. And it was Ideal Marquez who came off to race first over from the 950. 29.8 second quarter. No moves around the side. They quickened to 28, and then it was a dash up the straight. Don't Let Fear Stop You was still travelling. Obadiah Dragon was looking for a run to its inside, but there wasn't one. Dom Toretto came off 3 pegs and got into the clear, but gave Tishan Raider the heave-ho when it did. Dom Toretto flashed late, but it couldn't catch Don't Let Fear Stop Ya. It pinched it. 27-1 final quarter, mile rate slow, 158-1. Dom Toretto sprouted wings late, just missed. Ideal Marquez had her chance, race tough from the half. No luck, Obadiah Dragon. Red Reactor, Our Uncle Jim, good. Our Uncle Jim, he's racing really well at the moment. Race 7, Stan Dummersy Memorial for the Trotters. Favourite here, Sleepy at $2.50. 3 played up in the score-up. Foot Tapper, Jungle Eye, Speedy Lover. There was speed from Courage Stride and Sleepy. Sleepy worked its way to the front. So on the pegs, Sleepy, Courage Stride, Hot to Trot, Aldebaran Jensen, Affair to Cover, and Foot Tapper once it tacked on. Running line, Leaf Stride, Tough Love, Speedy Lover. 28 first quarter, followed by a 30.6 second quarter. Sleepy was being tapped along at the cages. Leaf Stride was struggling a fraction, which made plenty of room for Courage Stride to come off the inside on the turn. A 28.5 around the side. Courage Stride got to the lead. Nothing really looked like running it down in the straight, and it won. Final quarter, 28.2. Mile rate, 155.3. Hot to Trot made late ground for second. Sleepy obviously had an issue from what David Aiken said in that interview during the week, and he was happy with the run. Thought Speedy Lover was really good after giving up so much ground at the start, but not a very reliable horse from the mobile at the moment anyway. Race 8, fave here, Jolita at $2.15. Ooh, unfortunately for favourite punters, it was one of the 2 horses that missed the start in the last, the other being Lenny's Angel. Speed early from Polka Delight, Maria Alagonda and Go-O Mickey, with Go-O Mickey getting across to the lead, and everything went to the marker pegs. So it was Go-O Mickey, Maria Alagonda, Polka Delight, Charlie's Ace, Kate's Virtue, Heavenly Holly, Heavenly Charm. 27-6 the first quarter. There was absolutely no moves in this race until Charlie's Ace came off the inside turning for home. So nothing. Very American. Middle quarters, 29, 27-3. Up the straight, it was a dash. Go-O Mickey led. Maria Alagonda came out for a crack in the straight. Couldn't get there. Heavenly Holly made up good ground from the tail of the field. 27-7 final quarter. Mile rate 151.6. Also provided Seaton Grimer with a training double. Maria Alagonda looks to have come back in good form as well. Jolita, that sure hurt plenty of punters in the final leg of the quaddie, that's for sure. Best winner of the night, well, it's got to be Max Delight. Career best, 149.6, sat park throughout. Good effort, looks a good chance to make the final of the Inter-Dominion in a month's time. Best beaten effort of the night, Speedy Lover has to be mentioned in this. Dom Toretto flashed late. Whiskey Cavalier was a good effort in the first, but I think Nyack showed it's ready to win. Hasn't won since arriving from Tassie, and it's had the 5 starts in New South Wales now, but it looks ready to win a race for sure. So that's Nyack. And best driver of the night, couple of nominations here. Jim Douglas, he did everything right in the first. Robbie Morris on Eagle Watch. He pulled the right rein every time, but Chris Geary on Our Princess Kennedy followed the right horse all the way and produced her at the right time. So Chris Geary gets driver of the night for his effort on Our Princess Kennedy.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Winning. Hey, that's pretty good.
Winner!
That was legitness.
That I say, all right. Wow, winning.
Bam! Just like that. That's all there is to it, Dustin. That's all there is to it. A winner. Just like that.
Well, Mr. T and I both won last week. Mr. T got 1 winner. That was Snakeskin, pretty short at Bathurst. He's now positive $86. I got the 2 winners at the Riverina meeting on Melbourne Cup night, so I'm back to minus $14, so still $100 behind him. No Bathurst this week for Mr. T, so that might help me a little bit. His two are both at Canberra on Monday. Race 3, number 1, Dark Luster for Nathan and Jet Turnbull, driven super aggressively last time out at Bathurst, proved too strong. This field doesn't look any harder, so should be able to lead from barrier 1 and be too strong for them. Race 3, number 1, Dark Luster, and race 5, number 2, Art of Terror, again for Nathan Turnbull, but Nathan drives this one. First up, scored a narrow win when it used the sprint lane to prove too strong. This field does look stronger. A couple of in-form horses engaged, but Mr. T is sticking with the Bathurst form. So that is race 5, number 2, Art of Terror. My two, both at Menangle on Tuesday. Race 5, number 1, I Know, for Chris Geary and Steve Ferrugia. Chris talked about this horse on the podcast last week when he was a guest. He didn't get the chance to race at Newcastle with the meeting being cancelled. Comes back to Menangle, where it was a good winner last time out in 153.4. So I think it should take some beating. That's race 5, number 1, I Know. And go to race 6, number 10, Double Fear, for Steph Morris and Vaughan Duncan. They took it all the way to Bathurst and it proved too strong. Really slick mile rate as well. Rated as a good thing. It's a 73 rater and gets into this up to 60 event. So class alone should take it a long way despite the awkward draw and the junior driver. Race 6, number 10, Double Fear. That just about wraps up the show for another week. Big thank you to David Aiken and Mick Guerin for joining me this week on the podcast. Good luck to all of the Australian horses over in New Zealand for the New Zealand Cup and, of course, the Aussie participants as well. I'll be back again next Sunday for the Sunday session. And don't forget to tune in to the Menangle Angle with Jess and Wano on a Thursday. Have a great week, and I'll catch you next Sunday. Bye for now.